Hi, Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog, and this is the Dawg Pound. I still need some music.
We still need to get you some walk-in music, Jim.
Got to get some walk-in music, something. Anyway, the Dawg Pound today is a theme. A lot of dealers have no inventory on their lots. They're selling everything they can get. And a lot of dealers have drawn back on their marketing. They've drawn back on their advertising. Hey, man, I'm saving money. Well, guess what? The hammer's going to fall. This is going to end. Chips are going to be back. You're going to get more inventory. But right now, should you continue to advertise? Should you continue to market? Should you continue to stay in front of the public? And I've always said it's not how you advertise or should you advertise, it's what you advertise. So today we're going to be talking about if you're not advertising selling cars, what are we going to advertise? Well, I've got some experts on staff today on the screen today that'll talk about exactly that. Alternative things you need to advertise. And now when we talk about Google, I got 3, 4, or 5 Google experts on the screen today. And I got Brett Sutherlin doing a webinar, Is SEO Dead? Well, I don't know if SEO is dead or not. Tim Martell, the SEO Animal, on the other screen. So there might be some fireworks. Who knows? Maybe they're in agreement. Maybe somebody's just playing on words.
You can hear the ocean in the background, that's for sure.
Who's got all the noise? Tim, is that you?
Tim is actually by the ocean. So.
Tim, are you by the ocean? You got a lot of noise there, son.
Oh, there he is.
There he is. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about one of the most brilliant women in the car business, my friend, Jennifer Briggs. Hi, Jennifer.
Hey, Jim. I'm interested to see this conversation on SEO. I think it starts with what kind of SEO are you talking about? There's so many different kinds. And I think dealers for the longest time were very hesitant to make an investment in things that they can't see. But when you're leveraging all of those different types of optimization, you can see it. But connecting the dots is very important. And I love that you say what, because I'm sitting here thinking a lot of people have been advertising the wrong thing for a long time. So it's going to be an interesting conversation today.
And the used car high line guru, my friend, Patrick O'Brien. Hey, Patrick.
Hey,
how you
Jim.
Doing,
thank you. Oh, man, I'm fantastic. I apologize. I got knocked out early last week with you guys when we were talking to my specialty, but I got my computer up and running. It seems like everything's working good. So I am excited about this. I talk to Tim often. So I'm definitely excited to see what Tim and Brett have to say. And I know Jennifer's, she knows a ton about this also. So I'm going to kind of be more of a fly on the wall and take in as much as I can so I can learn while I give anything that I can to these to the conversation.
Well, looks to me like
again, I love being on this show.
I have a coffee shop today.
No, actually, I'm in the lobby of my building. We have the new baby at home, so doing this with the baby possibly screaming in the background's not a good thing. So I'm in the lobby of the building at my.
You mean you don't have a baby sleeping in the oven, Patrick?
If you put a baby in the oven and blow out the pilot light for a couple
She's
minutes.
17 days old. She sleeps when she wants.
It's a joke. That's an exhausted parent joke. Don't worry. It doesn't get better. I'm 18
I'll
years
tell you what,
in.
I get a lot more sleep than my wife does. That's for sure. She's a rock star.
Okay, I want to introduce a newcomer to my screen, Danny Zaslavsky. Hey, big guy.
We've been talking about you for a few weeks, Danny. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, you've been subject to conversation. Now, what drew you to my attention was the fact that you have an advertising program that's generating 100 units a month buying from the public. Now, is this a lie? Is this bullcrap? What is this true?
No, it's true. So I've been thinking about acquisition for 15 years now, but early on we called it WAR. Which stands for wholesale, auction, retail to us. And wholesale is when we wholesale to another dealer. Auctions, obviously, when we auction it. Retail is when we retail it. And I've always believed that you should make money regardless of whether you're wholesaling, auctioning, or retailing. And so on the advertising topic, the thing that got me excited is right now is the time to be advertising for acquisition. Right now is the time to be sharpening your sword for your wholesale business, because I feel like there's all this
100%.
opportunity
100%.
that's dealers sometimes stick their nose up at with either auction business or wholesale business. And we're bred to think that if we leave money in wholesale that we didn't do a good enough job in retail, but that's simply not true.
Right.
Fantastic. I'm looking to hear more about this. Let me introduce the rest of the crew here. Now, this is a good friend of mine, J&L Marketing, J&L Advertising. This is my friend Scott Joseph. Scott, how you doing, big guy?
I am doing great, Jim. Thank you for having me on. And I want to echo what Danny was just saying. I love that. So basically, you opened the show with, should we continue to market and how and where? And Danny answered the question. So show over.
Well, there's a little more to it than that. But
We'll get a little more granular than that, Joseph.
Yeah.
We're probably going to dive a little deeper than that, to tell you the truth.
All right.
Now, I don't know if I've known this man since he was an infant or not. I mean, I've known him for a long time, like kindergarten maybe. When did you and I meet, Brett?
It's been decades and decades ago, Jim.
You might have been in kindergarten when I first met you. You know, I was doing some business with your dad, George, in the day, and then subsequently doing business with you. Tell us who you are, what you're all about.
Several different things. On obviously the retail automotive side, Sutherlin has 10 stores. Technology side, Fusion Zone, website provider for several different OEMs, and then lead revenue, which is outside of auto, which is focused mainly on contractors, but really have identified some strategies that move the needle, and I'm excited to talk about this.
Okay, now are you still invested in Fusion Zone?
Absolutely, yes. Major stakeholder, Fusion Zone, all of the above.
I am so impressed with this guy. I mean, 10 successful dealerships. I'm talking about the Sutherlin dealerships generate incredible revenue. I mean, very profitable. But here he is on the side, his side hustle.
Side hustle.
You know, a successful dealer's side hustles. What the heck? I mean, he's got Fusion Zone. He's got all these other entrepreneurial things. He's buying and selling these. It's incredible. I am so pleased to have you. Your latest thing is called, is SEO Dead?
Yes, excited to dive in, Jim. Appreciate the opportunity to be on the show, and look forward to this.
Okay, so I saved Tim Martell for last because you just announced that SEO is dead and Tim's out of work. Hey, Tim from Wikimotive. You talk about a friend of mine. This guy's been a friend of mine almost equally like Brett. I've been knowing your father for how many years?
Probably all of them, Jim, since we were camel trading and then to horse trading, and then we put right. I think that's about how far back.
Yeah, probably. I've known you since kindergarten. Your dad was in the dealerships in those days. Unbelievable, the relationships we've garnered. I'm going to start with Jennifer Briggs. Jennifer, now you're working with 30 dealerships in just one of your accounts. I mean, this woman is a consultant. She's had every position, general manager. Should you advertise? What should you advertise? Is SEO dead?
So 100% you should advertise. And I think we've seen a lot of people, I mean, everybody started scaling back when the country came to a halt. And I will let you know that as people were canceling spends, we were scooping up inventory at cut rates to make sure that our branding was still out there. If you were only relying on your inventory to market, you were kind of doing it wrong to begin with. So I don't really see any shift or change. And what you should be advertising on depends on your strategy. Where are your profit centers right now without the inventory? And everybody knows, right, grosses are ridiculous. But look at your statement and make a decision. With the lack of inventory, what am I trying to do? Am I trying to get better people? Am I trying to get the inventory? I was so impressed with Danny's program when I saw it at a conference back in August that I really couldn't stop talking about it that next week on this show. And so I think that that's something we've been doing internally for a long time. And I think those folks who are enjoying their situational success or circumstantial success right now are really in for a rough surprise. And I like to think, and I know Max isn't with us today. He always tells me, Jennifer, it's utopian. But that's why we're top operators. That's why we're performing the way that we are. I feel like we're kind of stepping back 12 months. These are conversations you should have been having with your team 12 months ago to figure out what you should be doing. And I don't think SEO is
Absolutely.
dead. I don't know the content in Brett's presentation, but I really do not think SEO is dead. Search engine optimization, I don't think that's going away right now.
Brett might not be really saying SEO is dead. I mean,
Might just be the hook.
Yeah, we don't have enough information.
Okay.
I think a lot of times, I agree with Jennifer. This is a conversation that should have been happening previously, for months and months and months prior to leading up to where we are now or where we're going forward. You should have already had, or we as dealers should have already had a strategy in place. Like Jennifer said, look at your statements, see where your profits are coming in, and then optimize those areas so that when the inventory levels return and the grosses kind of come back down to normal, you're picking up in other areas, you're maximizing dollars in other areas. So you don't really feel that right. I guess the brunt that's going to come in, whenever that does, when those grosses do start to level off.
See, I'm thinking you should be advertising service.
I agree.
If you have the hours or the parts, yes. Because right now that's also an issue for some.
If you have the technicians, also that's the other thing. Keep in mind. Advertising for service to bring people in. If you don't have the technicians that can turn the wrenches and get the cars over and get those ROs paid, I mean, you're gonna have a tough time there too.
Okay, Tim, what's your slant on that?
100%. Well, so what are we doing? One of the things that we're seeing right now in SEO that's so interesting is because dealers are actually using branding and awareness for vehicle acquisition. We're finally seeing that on the data side of search engine analytics in Google, where we see these searches by consumers looking for dealers that want to buy their cars because that awareness is actually coming. I don't see it nationwide. We see it in pockets, only in pockets of the country, where dealers are really hammering that awareness advertising.
Now, Tim, let me ask you, is that happening, those pockets that you're seeing, is that happening more in your major metro markets? Is it happening in your smaller markets? Where are you seeing those pockets pop up?
Yeah, so definitely I think metros, it always aligns with dealers that are volume driven, right? So your bigger dealers are investing in trying to promote that vehicle acquisition, and they tend to be in metro areas. That seems to go hand in hand, and we haven't really seen that as much in more rural areas unless you have, sort of like a Dan Cummins example. I mean, I think there's 3 stoplights in Paris, Kentucky, right? Yeah, and they sell 1,000 cars a month.
Right.
So
well,
that would be an outlier.
Tim, you're the consultant. I know you're the SEO company for Dan Cummins.
Dan Cummins, yeah.
Dan Cummins is one of the biggest Chevrolet dealers in the country. What are you doing differently there?
Right. Well, so when you have the kind of budgets to work with that a massive dealership like that has, we can really get very siloed in the different approaches, as opposed to having an expensive SEO strategy. Well, we have many different siloed strategies running concurrently. So they can afford to actually campaign on vehicle acquisition while not letting off the gas on their more traditional SEO spend, because they understand that SEO is a marathon. Whatever we're working on today isn't the customer that's coming in the door tomorrow. It's the customer that's coming in the door 9 months, 12 months, 15 months from now.
No, dealers don't
And so
think
when
that
you have
way.
that,
I was just getting ready to say.
Dealers don't. We except Brett, and actually, Scott Joseph is a dealer himself. Although I won't let him in the group.
I don't understand that. That is so unfair. Is Brett in the group?
No.
Oh, all right then.
Tim
You know,
wasn't
I'm
in for a
sitting
long
here-
time either.
I am
And he's not a
sitting here-
dealer.
I think we all agree that you need to continue to market, and it just becomes where do I market and what do I invest my ad dollars in, right? Obviously, right now, it makes a lot of sense to do acquisition. I also agree those are conversations that should have happened 3, 6, maybe even 12 months ago. But the reality is that's a conversation that needs to happen continuously.
I'm going to be
Because-
bringing Danny on in a minute, and so you say acquisition is really important. What's your slant on acquisition, Scott?
Oh, well, everyone's full go on that because inventory is our number one challenge. So, and then you go into parts and service. Some parts and service, you're starting to see that slow down a little bit now. You've gotten through the summer. You've also we've sold less cars. All of that is going to eventually catch up. Service trails sales. And so that's eventually going to catch up there. Now, there is the challenge of the techs. But when I talk about a continuous conversation of planning, I'm on Clubhouse this morning. Most dealers on there anticipate, as early as March of next year, things to be some of their stronger months. And that's feedback they're getting, from the OEMs in terms of inventory, right? The demand's still going to be there. We've printed 40%. The amount of money we've printed 40% of our entire nation's money in just the last 2 years in our nation's history. 40% of it has been printed in the last 18 months. And so there's been a tremendous amount of money pushed into the economy. There are a lot of people, there's still a strong demand because not everybody's willing to overpay for a vehicle right now. And so that demand's going to last a pretty long time.
Yeah, see, that's
So
why
my
I
question
think
is,
what you said a moment ago, where service sales is
inventory,
wrong.
hold on, Jennifer. If inventory continues or comes back and you still have this demand, well, what's your plan for that? You can't wait until March to all of a sudden say, all right, now it's time to have a discussion. Acquisition's not as important. Now I've got to have a plan for new cars and used cars, which I've lacked. Now's the time to start planning for that moment as well. Sorry, Jennifer.
No, it's okay. I just, the point here is that being retroactive or reactive is not an efficient way to run your business. And we do that so frequently in this industry. Forget about everything that's happening right now. You would have no idea how many dealer principals I sit down with and say, okay, tell me your story. What's your USP? And they look at me like a deer in the headlights. I'm telling you, if you have not already started planning for the next 12 months, you're behind the 8 ball. And I think when this bubble bursts, we're already seeing lots of acquisitions happening right now. I'm really excited. Not because I want to see, but I think it's going to show those folks who are efficient and adaptable, and we're going to see them rise to levels of success we've never seen. It's going to be monumental change for us in this business.
Okay, now Brett Sutherlin.
Emotion.
Let me talk to Brett a second, Tim. I'll get right with you. Brett, last night you and I had a conversation, and you were talking about you've got 10 dealerships, and you're acquiring more dealerships. I think you got some new acquisitions. You were telling me some numbers. Tell me. I know you're extremely profitable. What numbers would you like to share with me? What are you comfortable sharing with the audience that you told me last night?
So, look, it's changing. We haven't changed our advertising budgets at all during the pandemic. We've changed with the times. Everybody's saying, hey, you know what? Technicians are hard to come by. But in actuality, for us, they haven't been. We've been adding technicians left and right. what you have to do is you have to adjust their pay scale. When you've got, and there's a grocery store, I'm in Park City, Utah, our house right now. There's a grocery store down the street that's starting people at $24 an hour. So why would a technician possibly not be worth 40? It's changing with the times, and it has to start with compensation. So we're advertising on, heavily in service, all the fast-moving items, tires, batteries, windshield wiper blades, things people don't traditionally advertise. Make them realize the Pep Boys of the world and give them another outlet, right? So we're not having the technician issue. We are addressing it head on with pay. Secondly, yeah, we're advertising to acquire cars. We are advertising heavy in the used car game. And, net profits this year are approaching 9 figures between 10 dealerships. So they're extremely profitable, but dealers have to realize you have to adjust. It's very easy to get out there and say, hey, you know what? I can't handle any more service business. Well, shame on you, right? You have to leave the game and go after technicians and get technicians to join your team.
So advertising for technicians is a strong part of the budget right now.
It's a heavy part of the budget. It's a big focus. Changing when the SEO game, and obviously SEO is not dead. SEO is changing dramatically.
I wish you hadn't said that. Now, see, you let Tim off the hook. I was
hyper local SEO. We're wanting to compete in the tire categories. We're wanting to compete in the oil change categories. Maps have taken us to entirely new levels of exposure. So it's really knowing how to play the game that is driving insane profits, not just on front end and back end grosses, but in the service arena as well.
Let me ask you a question. I get text messages all the time from RTMs and my partner, and I'm sitting here. Everyone's complaining about inventory. We've heard this complaint, not even complaint, concern. How do I get more inventory? How do I get more? I finally fired off a text because I just look at the bottom line every month, and I just sat there and say, I hope we never get inventory.
Yeah, you're gonna lose your people.
I like
okay.
this way better than any year I've ever been in.
Okay, let me talk to Danny a second, guys.
I've been just quiet and listening.
Let us have it, Danny.
All these notes.
Let me talk to Danny for a second. I met Danny when Danny spoke at Digital Dealer a couple weeks back, and when Danny spoke at Digital Dealer, he owns a dealership. He owns an independent dealership, and he is legitimately acquiring 100 units a month, buying them from the public. Danny, how are you generating that amount of inventory from buying it from the public?
So I also own a software company called VinCue, and we've been building that now for 7 years. But I want to.
What is your email address, Danny?
Danny@dealerq.com. Dealer and then CUE, as in Q as in cadence and align.
Okay, that's Danny@dealerq.com.
So let me kind of go back for a second, because I think that there's a shift that's happening whether we know it or not, and it kind of speaks to the advertising problem. I believe that people there's a shift where we used to advertise brand, and that isn't as important anymore, and we need to be advertising experience. And that experience is the ability to eliminate friction, obviously, to testimonials, any types of experiences that help build that why between the consumer and the dealership. And so that's where we've been spending our money. And it's understanding the motivator of the consumer, whether you're selling or buying. So specifically in the acquisition space, something very simple and tangible that we do that others can do is we do exit interviews with every person that lets us when they sell us a car, and we take that and we put it up on social, and then we buy behavior of other people that are wanting to sell their car because they're going to CarMax, who by the way is across the street from me, or whatever. And then I put those testimonials in front of those people. Go to YouTube, type in "sell to Country Hill Motors," and you'll see a ton of them. You'll see I've got 60 of them up right now, and there's more being added every single
Hey,
day.
Danny, is that your correct email address?
Let me see it. Danny@dealerq.com. That's it, sir. Thank you.
Okay,
So,
there you go.
but I think the inventory issue is dynamic, right? Because I think it's easy to say we're all selling a bunch of cars, but that's actually not completely true, because there's still segments of inventory that is sitting and not churning as fast as it should be. So in that, which is why we're building VinCue, I believe that a vehicle should have a system that pays attention to its complete life cycle. So from the moment it's purchased, understanding the ways in which that you can get rid of that car, because we know, I mean, we're in 2021, almost 22. We know the market day supply of that car. We know whether the wholesale or retail is going up or down on that vehicle. We also should be thinking about the marketability of that vehicle throughout the country. I'm in Kansas City. I'm selling cars to folks, dealers in California, that my retail is their wholesale, right?
Yeah.
Dealers. So, but having the ability to see that and connect that, instead of being captive or hostage to an auction, that the only thing that auction's in charge of is to create confidence between a seller and consumer. I don't need that. Okay. I'm a big boy. So a dealer can have a meaningful conversation with another dealer and make those types of decisions. So is there an inventory crisis? Yeah, for those that are not paying attention. But for those that are serious about the experience over brand, in both selling and in acquisition, and building a team. Right now, there's never been a playground like lives today, because we have the opportunity. I have the opportunity. I'm going to speak about me, not anybody else. I have the opportunity, and I'm using that opportunity to continuously change my org chart, both at VinCue and at Country Hill Motors, so that we can bring on technologists, people that are hungry to understand how to leverage opportunities, and then be able to capitalize on those opportunities. Same thing
Danny,
that
let me
Brett's
ask you.
doing.
Danny,
Please.
let me ask you a question. Now, your dealership is Country Hill Motors, and what dollar amount is the average car on your lot?
So we sell between 300 and 400 cars a month. It's a single point location. We have an offsite reconditioning facility. We learned that if we have the cars, we'll sell them. So we do 60-40 wholesale retail, but everything's profitable. And I'm going to answer that question even better for you. So I, 7 years ago, really wanted to understand the vehicle acquisition channels from which I buy cars, right? Auction, trade, dealer network, if I'm buying from another dealer, or private party acquisition. And I wanted to know the difference in churn and the difference in front gross per copy, because back is a little bit more of a control, right? So I created systems to be able to track that. And so today I can tell you that my front gross per copy on auctions is about $1,200. My front gross on private party acquisition is $3,600, and that's selling at scale. So, and that's selling the same car, not because I bought it, not because I sold it for more, but it's because I eliminated auction fees, transportation fees, post-sale inspection fees, all these other fees, and stupid tax.
Smarter.
Right. Well, we bought it smarter, but the stupid tax that we're eliminating is we're not competing with each other.
Wait,
right?
did
We're
you
not
just call
competing
it
with
a
other
stupid
dealers.
tax?
Stupid
Hey,
tax.
no, let's back it up. Did you call it a stupid tax?
It is stupid tax. Well,
Awesome.
it's an expert fee. You're competing with other experts and inflating the price, and the people that win are the auction houses that create the playground for us. So I read a statistic that I think, or it was actually not even a statistic. It was Carvana's report that they put out, that how many cars they bought last year. They bought 203,000 vehicles from the public last year. Okay, I was like, whoa, that's a big number. But then I started like dissecting that number, and that's almost 17,000 vehicles a month. And then you take that divided by 50 states, that's only 350 cars per month per state. That is a very small number. So that means
It is a very small number. That's a very astute observation.
So that
what I was
little old
trying to
me,
get to with my
go ahead,
question
please.
earlier, can you, and I ask you what dollar amount of cars you're keeping in inventory. What is the range of what you're buying? Are you keeping $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 cars? What is your average car
average
inventory?
retail or average ACV, Jim?
Yeah, I was going to say
Average,
your
yeah.
cost.
His average ACV. What has he got on the lot? Because where I'm leading with this, Danny, is can you buy Highline vehicles if you're a Highline dealership? I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah.
okay, that's where I'm heading with this question.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and I'm happy to share that I've got all the private party listings in my software, and I've also got all the wholesale listings, and you can see the differences. But yeah, so I've got 3 segments. We sell a lot of vehicles in that $12,000 to $15,000 price range. Those are bread and butter for us. We can get a lot of those from the private party, and we can recondition them and sell them really well. We certify them. And then we also have Highline cars. I've got really weird cars, classic cars, Mercedes and Ferraris and stuff like that as well.
I want to hand it off to Tim for a second and get back with you, Danny.
Right, before we do, can I ask one question of Danny? Danny,
Okay,
how
one
many
question
days
of
do you
Danny.
have in your offsite recondition center to support the volume you're purchasing from the public?
I have 16 bays and I have 8 mechanics. Each mechanic has 2 bays because I'm used, so they have to be able to UCI a car and get another one fixed, right? And exactly. And then I've got tech assistants and then obviously service managers and service writers.
Good. I want to pass it off to Tim, but Danny, one thing I'm impressed with is you have an independent lot with full reconditioning, and you're operating like a new car franchise ordinarily would act. And you're selling 300 to 400 cars a month in an independent lot. And there's a lot of questions I'd love to ask you, but I want to ask Tim right now. Tim, turn your mic back on. You're making a lot of noise when your mic's off, but turn your mic on.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah, you got all that wind noise when your mic's on. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, what I want to ask you now.
So what did you want to ask him?
Is what is, you're the SEO animal. You've got some very big clients. You're honed in on SEO. What are your clients, the big boys, advertising? What you talked about Cummins. Now Cummins has a lot of budget with Cummins. I mean, but what is your average dealer advertising?
Well, McCluskey Chevrolet is the same way. I mean, really what we look to do is bring your 100 to 500, 600, 700, and 1,000 plus. We started with Dan Cummins when they were doing like 195 a month, and now it's over 1,000. McCluskey Chevrolet, we started when they were 95 cars a month. Now they're over 1,000. And the first, and to kind of Brett's point earlier, you start hyper focused in your backyard, but it doesn't end. I mean, look at their PMA as being a 10 million person metro that extends from Indianapolis all the way out to Cleveland, all the way down to Lexington, Kentucky. I mean, they're selling 60 cars a month into Orlando, Florida. I was at dinner with a dealer group in Orlando, Florida last night, talking to me about SEO and why they're worried about north side of Orlando versus south side of Orlando. I go, you got guys from 1,000 miles away pumping 60, 70, 80 units a month into your market, and the cars never even hit their lot. They find the car in the market closest to the consumer with the least amount of recon need. They get it fixed at the auction and then deliver it to the customer's door. But that's not where you start when you're at 100, 150, or even 200 cars a month. There's so much opportunity to disrupt market share within your local market because of all of the garbage that we've been so accustomed to paying for. Look at paid search is a perfect example. How many people are really inspecting the results of their paid search? You've got Interactive Tell that just analyzed 1 million phone calls and found that only 12% of them were sales opportunities from their sales budget. The other 87%.
Wait a second. Explain, Tim, slow down, big boy. 12% are what?
only 12% are actual sales calls from sales campaigns. And it's because the information that we're sending back to Google are not outcome based, right? VDP, if I hear, there's actually a session here where a guy was talking about how to get your VDP costs down. Talk about tone deaf when Pash and me lead off the conference with this information about how broken paid search is and how easy it is to fix because the data exists. But we're not inspecting these aspects of our marketing budget. Now, I want to back up for 1 second too, because this idea about the inventory shortages continuing it should be a marketing message that dealers continue to keep prices high for consumers, because nobody's talking about the fact that the SAR is 500,000 stronger this year than it was last year. That's still not enough vehicles, and that's still creating a lot of demand. But it's going to be another 500,000 next year, and it's
Don't tell people that.
I am the gross guy. I love front end gross. We're 500,000 more new vehicles in 2020, and another 500,000 more than that in 2022. And we're really seeing that the supply chain that we've become accustomed to isn't actually going to come back until 2023. But we've got another year of deep grosses to enjoy as dealerships. So
we have another year to enjoy. Listen, slow down. Listen to the optimism here. Everybody, oh my God, the sky's falling. We're not going to get inventory. And this guy's saying, we need to celebrate this. We need to, look at the incredible business we've done. Tim, let me cut you off for a second here, big boy. I'm hearing Tim talking about the successes that his company's having. I'm listening to Scott Joseph talking about J&L Marketing, is record profits. I'm hearing Danny Zaslavsky talking about 300-400 units a month in an independent lot. Come on.
I want to clarify something, Jim. The record profits are at the dealerships.
Oh, no. I wish I had this guy's money. If he ever goes on a long vacation, I'll dig up his backyard because I know there's money buried back there. But anyway, I want to get to Brett Sutherlin for a second, because he's having a webinar this week. And the webinar is all about, is SEO dead? Now, if SEO's dead, I'm listening to Tim over there. I'm listening to Scott Joseph, two marketing people. Explain yourself, Brett.
So I think a lot of dealers, the bulk of dealers, are focused on old techniques and tactics. As Google has changed and you have paid search that is occupying more space than ever, and then you have maps, you now have map ads, it has pushed organic listings down the fold, which they're focused on old tactics that aren't moving the needle. We're focused heavily on hyper-local activities that will generate more for more departments in your dealership in more cities. Maps is the key to growth right now, and so many are relying on old techniques that it's very frustrating. We have focused at Fusion Zone and Lead Revenue on this hyper-local growth, and we're seeing numbers that I've never seen before.
So Tim is a dinosaur.
I've seen, and what I like about it is it's not the long game that traditional SEO is. It is a much shorter turnaround. You're getting indexed much quicker. I'm seeing guys start.
You're talking about maps and Google My Business, right?
100%. I'm seeing guys that haven't been involved, that haven't focused on that end of the business, now focused on that through our help or their own or someone else's. And I'm seeing calls double in 30 days. I'm seeing an increase in so many different areas. Website traffic obviously is a big one. Jim, let me ask you, when you decide, now picture if you did have a bunch of restaurants around your house, right? how do you find where you're going if you're in a new city? You Google restaurants near me or gas stations near me. I was new to Park City, wanted to go buy a new car. I Googled BMW dealers near me. That is how search is working in this day and time.
Okay, so search is working. Something near me. My wife does near me Google searches all the time. Yeah, every time I turn around. Now Patrick, throw some opinion in here.
No, and actually, the near me thing is, I live in downtown Metro Atlanta. I've been down here for most of my life, and I still, as I'm driving in different areas, all right, what's near me right now as I'm driving down this road? I mean, and that's
even locally, you do that.
Absolutely.
Because
things change
remember,
all
if you're
the
searching
time.
on a mobile device, Google's going to suggest it. Let's not forget about the behavioral information that influences this suggestion.
You don't even have to type in near me anymore.
Yeah, you could just type restaurants, and it's going to pop up everything that's near you. And again, I think consumers, as we know, we're not getting as many people that are looking for cars and stuff these days. But let's say they do a dealership and they experience. The next step they're going to do is they're going to get on their phone as they're pulling out of your store, and they're going to type BMW, whatever, and then all of a sudden Google's going to give them all these maps. They're going to give them all these listings that they can now pick up the phone, make a phone call, and say, "Hey, is this car on the ground? I'm on my way to you now." So I think dealers that really, really have optimized this space are going to be the ones that really take off as we continue to move forward versus the ones that are just like catching up.
How do you get in the map pack at the top where they got 3 or 4 dealers listed?
What I've seen, and I've learned this at Lead Revenue when I wasn't working with auto dealers, it's about relevancy. Google is going to display the results based on relevancy.
Yep.
And the more relevant you make your dealership, if a dealership sells tires, why are they never in a map pack search on tire dealers near me?
Because they're mixing categories.
You should be. You should be. So it's about relevancy and making your GMB page, about making your dealership more relevant when it comes to search. That is the key to growth.
It has always been about frequency and recency and relevancy with Google. That's not new, folks. Like what Brett is telling you is to be relevant. It's the same thing that Google has said about paid search. And that's why Tim was that everything has been overinflated. Search has been ineffective without monitoring and optimization for a long time because it's not been relevant, because we've allowed people to take our investments and put them into some cookie cutter type stuff that's not relevant to our business. And what Brett is talking about, folks, is taking your backyard.
Cookie cutter. Did you say that?
Of course I said cookie cutter. I've been complaining about cookie cutter for how many years?
Relevant.
Sounds like a lot of air. Sounds like a lot of air. I don't want to strike on that right now, but still,
I think the point is to what Brett is saying, you guys.
You actually do it.
This is not new. Make sure you own your backyard and make sure you're optimized. It is insane. And we did a GMB panel, was that just last week, talking about how many dealers are actually utilizing their Google business profiles. And even if they do have their name, address, phone number, the NAP file correct, they're not posting any content that's relevant to their sales strategy or what they're trying to do. So not only do you not have recency, you have no frequency. So, and it's irrelevant to your business. Remember, Google Dealer Guidebook 2.5, if you've not read it yet, is going to tell you what you should be working towards. And if you yourself as a dealer principal or general manager don't have time to do that, you need someone on your team, whether it's a marketing director, whether it's a 20 group, whatever it might be, you need somebody helping you to put this strategy together, because honestly, owning your own backyard should be simple, but we see people struggling with it across the country and across industries, by the way. That's not automotive specific.
And then to the dealers, when you have somebody that's helping you with that strategy, listen to them. Listen to them.
Like Tim. Tim, jump in now.
I think the relevant.
Tim, wait a sec. I just listened to Brett say you're obsolete.
He is really trying to start an argument.
He really is. You know he is.
I love the dichotomy, but it's just, I think dealers don't want to hear relevant because, well, what does relevant mean? And so I'll actually tell you, this is how you do it right now. To go back to Brett's example with tires, for example, it's having proper department splits on your Google business profiles. It's leveraging your service Google business profile with proper categorization, but it doesn't end there. You have to drive reviews to those other department splits if you're going to dominate your backyard. And it's amazing how fast it will happen if you drive review frequency to those business profiles. We've got dealers all over the country. You can't even find Jiffy Lube and Mako and anything else in the map pack or in the 3-pack. Their business profile will show up at the side and they'll be number one in the map pack because they've got 350 reviews for a 4.9 rating on their service Google business profile. It's that continued cadence of reviews while having proper categorization using all 10 categories. If it doesn't say tire shop, you're never going to show up for tires. But if you just put all the categories in and there's no active content being driven to that, to Jennifer's point, and
that's what I was just
content,
to say.
I mean, reviews, images, products, whatever the case may be, keeping that constant flow and especially driving consumer reviews.
So Tim,
you own your backyard from a Google business profile standpoint.
So Tim, basically what you're saying is the reviews is the best way to drive that relevancy and that recency, correct? That's what dealers should be focusing on.
Okay, reviews. Wait a minute.
100%.
Where are reviews? Reviews are in Google My Business. True?
Yes, your Google business reviews are very important, but I want to add for the dealers watching, or if you are using a reputation management company right now, what Tim is saying is for your closed RO file versus your sold unit file that reputation management company is using, those need to post to two separate
This woman is brilliant. Let me get back to Danny a second. I'm not done with Danny. Danny, we're not done with you yet. Danny, now you're acquiring all this inventory. What advertising mediums are you using? Just Google?
No, social media,
Facebook.
Google, absolutely, Facebook, Instagram, and I'll tell you, we're getting a lot of business off TikTok. We make TikTok videos. We make TikTok videos, and they get more viewership than my Facebook videos and my Instagram videos combined. So that's been kind of fun. But hey, Jennifer, you said something. Tim, you said something. Brett, you said something. Patrick, you said something. Scott, you said something that as a dealer, like if I kind of take myself back 10 years, as you guys are telling me this stuff, and I'm going, oh my God, that's a lot of work. But then I had an epiphany, 10 years ago, where I was like, maybe I should rethink my org chart and hire some digital people to put on my team. And I think that's where I made the biggest leap, is when I started, instead of saying, okay, well, I just need more salespeople, or I need to spend more money on advertising, or I need to leverage my vendors better. BS, I need to hire experts to help me grow. And I need to be able to lean on them and say, you figure it out, tell me what you learned, and then let's strategize together. No different than you do with your CFO, or you do with your fixed ops, or you do with anybody else in your building.
So
find
Danny,
good people, pay them well, and get out of their way.
And get out of their way. And get out of their way. We have, and so it's funny you say that, because we have a line at work, because sometimes I'm very data hungry, and we have a lot of people that are data hungry. And so there's the other side of that, where you can get paralysis analysis. Yeah. And on the acquisition side, we have a term, it's BFC, which is buy the effing car, except we say the whole thing out loud. Yeah. Because and that's what at the end of the day, there's always, you got to find true north, but you got to bring people in that care about, that are good at that job, at that role, if that makes sense. So it's the same reason why we don't have salespeople buying cars. Salespeople don't buy cars. Vehicle buying center agents buy cars. Salespeople sell cars.
Danny, I'm glad you said that, because something that Jim's been saying for about the decade that I've known him is find good people, pay them well, and get out of their way. Let them do what you brought them in to do, and don't muddy their
How
water.
many years did you hear me say that, Patrick?
I mean, for almost the decade that I've known you, that's literally something that you
50.
preach at
Right.
every
So
single conference.
So Patrick, if right now we're, I'm going to speak about me. Our profits are up. Cool. What are we doing with that extra money? Investing it in more people that can continue to give us a scale, because it will shift. It just will. And it continues to change every day. And I still have cars, by the way, that sit around. So I've got to have a different strategy for those cars than I do for the stuff that moves fast. And for the stuff that sits around, what do I want to do? I want to shave that market day supply so I can not lose gross and increase holding costs. So get rid of the stuff, but I got to have digital strategy in order for that to work.
Yeah.
Scott Joseph, digital strategy. Now, I know really you're the money man, and Jamil is actually the brains of the operation. But still,
First off, do not say that publicly, Jim.
that was just said publicly. Actually, Jamil is the brains of the operation. He's the tech guy. You're the money man. But you're the front guy. That works really well. But let me ask you a question. If he wasn't a friend, I couldn't beat him up and play with him like this. But, okay, Scott. Now, what other mediums besides Google are you guys using, and what do you advertise? What are you advertising? When we started out this whole sequence with what to advertise. What are your dealers advertising other than cars?
The first thing that we do, that I feel like we do a very good job of, and I'm speaking of whether it's the agency or the dealerships, is we test everything. That's rule number one. So the answer to your question is everything that works. So I've got benchmarks, right? And so, I know that we've been heavy on SEO, and to me, that is critical. But so is paid search, so is display. So, but it's all going to be done right, and you've got to be testing. What are you doing?
Let me ask you a question. We're talking. Everybody wants to talk about.
Jim, I've got clients that spend 7 figures with us a year.
I know. Let me ask you a question.
Millions of dollars, and they have researched. And if we told them we are eliminating paid search, they dump me in a second.
Let me ask you a question, big boy. Let me ask you a question. Television, radio, newspaper. Are we doing any of that?
We do. At my stores, we do television.
Depends on your strategy.
But today, television today, video and TV today is a little different than it was in the past, right? I mean, we can be much more targeted and interactive, and it's much easier to get a direct. I think today, I can.
It's easier to get in front of the people you want to see your ad than it was 15 years ago, for sure.
Correct, and you can get a direct response. I'm big on direct response marketing.
Yeah,
I want response. I want responses for what I do. And so, I want to see at least 50% of our budget at all 3 stores, over 50% towards some type of direct response marketing. Now, brand is just as important to us.
And I worked at a very, very high volume CDJR store here in Atlanta, and half the budget is TV still. They are on TV all the time. Anytime you see a Braves game, a Hawks game, you will see the advertisement for this CDJR store, and they sell 500-600 cars a month.
It fits their buyer demographic.
Because it fits their buyer demographic.
Let me
well, and they're committed, and they're probably committed to it to where they dominate.
Absolutely.
The space.
And I'll tell you what, the person that's in the ads is the general sales manager of that store. He is a very well-known person.
Correct.
And everybody, if you say this gentleman's name,
let me jump in a second, big guy. Let me jump in. Television today is segmented. A lot of people don't understand that cable can advertise to a specific geo-fenced area. And I mean, you can geo-fence. I mean, there's a woman here in Atlanta that advertises a Toyota store.
Yep.
Who am I talking about, Patrick?
It's Beaver.
Beaver, Linda Beaver, Toyota, and Beaver Toyota in Cumming, Georgia. But if you look at her geofencing, she is advertising her county and one county, and she has it all. Cable can geofence.
Yep.
You don't have to buy the whole city or the whole geographic anymore on television.
Right.
You
I'll tell
gotta
you
be
what, I
careful,
don't see
though,
I don't
with
see
the
her
cable.
ads
You
here in
gotta be careful
downtown,
with
but
the
I see them
cable
in
spend
Hiram.
right now. Like,
Oh, Jennifer's jumping in. What?
so I will let you know that we've made a move away from cable. We are still investing in television and OTT, but more so in an area focusing on that hyper local. You get watered down when you're trying to buy too much with cable, and it's very difficult, especially if you do not have a media buyer or an agency that has got somebody that is super sharp. What we found, for Jim was making mention of the largest group that I work with, is that having somebody that knows the local market and the local networking has been so much better. And we have found a much better position with traditional than we were seeing in cable. But here's the thing, regardless if you're doing cable or, network, or maybe you're just doing OTT or pre-roll or something like that, two things: leverage, saturation of that message. If you have a television spot, why isn't it on your Google business profile?
Okay, exactly. You got it. But hey, if I'm an attorney, I'm on Jerry Springer. If I'm an attorney, I'm on, if I'm,
I think the problem with cable right now, I think, is much like paid search. You have a lot of inefficient spends, and it's really hard for most dealers to differentiate between what's an efficient spend and what's
because they advertise what they like, and they don't.
There's inefficient. Jennifer, you keep saying there's inefficient spend on paid search. I could make an argument there's inefficient spend on anything.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's about just obviously.
Sure, but nothing is worse than paid
results.
search and display.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, we're friends, but don't make me vomit on air.
Oh my gosh, here we go. Now you're going to get
But
Jennifer.
there are
worked up.
so many agencies out there.
Please,
Listen,
Jennifer, please vomit. Please vomit and get the show's ratings
it's not
up.
ladylike, Jim.
Okay.
The problem is,
Danny,
there
are you doing any TV?
partners.
I am not, but I stopped doing TV 2 years ago. But at the time that I was doing TV, I mean, I was doing it for digital purposes, and TV was the okay, sure, let's spend some money on TV, where TV used to be primary, and so the whole intentionality, the anchor ads and the teaser ads, all my structure for the ads I was creating has changed because it's all digital. We do not do TV today.
To Patrick's point, out of our 3 stores, we only do TV in one market.
Right.
And it's because our general manager and our partner has such a good reputation in the city. He goes out to dinner and gets autograph requests.
Yes.
It's unbelievable. There we do it because it works very well. It doesn't work for us in St. Louis. So, and quite honestly, to spend, you'd have to spend way too much money. The ROI would be horrible. So you've got to, it goes back to testing and measuring everything. It's the first rule of any marketing. It doesn't matter. As long as it's working, you do it. And then you build that benchmark, and then you test against it. And if you can match or improve on it, you move on to the next best thing. And if something new that you're trying doesn't live up to the benchmark, you eliminate it. And you're constantly eliminating the things that aren't performing where it needs to go.
And let's
Brett, let me ask Brett. Brett, switch your hats a second. You're Sutherlin owning 10 dealerships.
Bless you, Jennifer.
Are you doing any television?
Yeah, we do TV, 100%. There's inefficiencies in every advertising. Jennifer hit the nail on the head. It's all about your demographic. Yeah. You cannot run any types of ads and not have inefficiencies. If I own a Cadillac dealership in Naples, Florida, which I don't, I'm using newspaper, right? You have to know your market, where your market is. It's no different than digital and traditional advertising. Where is your market, and how do you reach these people?
In most markets, newspaper is only efficient if you're training a puppy.
There's no question, but there's always an exception to the rule. No question about it.
Well, listen, guys, we've come to the end of our show. I know Danny's got to bounce at 2:00 sharp.
I want to say one thing, Jim, if I can.
Yeah.
Jennifer brought up unique selling propositions earlier. USPs and how when she brings it up to dealers, they struggle with that. And I think the reality is we sell a commodity, and it makes it very difficult to differentiate. I think one of the hardest things to do is come up with a USP when you are a commodity. All right. Mm-hmm. Telling that you've been a family-owned business for 100 years is not a USP. The customer doesn't care about that. They care about what it does for them. Does it save them time, effort, money, whatever? One of the best things that you can do, and we brought up reviews, one of the best ways to use reviews outside of obviously helping you with SEO and giving social proof and all the other benefits that come from it is actually reading them and paying attention to the negative ones and the positive ones. When you're selling and you're trying to come up with a USP, you want to be able to point out or show people in your USP how they can avoid pain and or go towards pleasure, correct? And so in the review, all your negative 1-star reviews, if you read them and you categorize them, they're all probably saying a lot of the same things. All right. Took too long to do this. It did this. They didn't do this right. And so if your USP is telling people,
you got to bounce, big guy.
This, and we move towards this, the positive ones tell you what they want. The negative tell you what they want to avoid, and just use their language.
They don't want.
Scott, you're exactly right.
Another edition of the Dawg Pound. We're still going. The voices are still here. I'm telling you, this has been a great show. Next week, I don't know how we're going to top it, but we've got some really expert guests. Check out the webinar this Friday. There's the information. SEO is dead. Tim's obsolete. Everybody wave. Say goodbye to the audience.